Welcome back to the Coach Rob Show. It is our final segment. We're going to talk about movies here in a minute. This portion of the Coach Rob Show is brought to you by Black Lion Hauling. Contact Andrew at Black Lion for garage or office cleanouts, dump runs, or gravel or mulch delivery. Black Lion has opened and closed trailers and can do furniture moves and deliveries in the Middle Tennessee area. They also have a couple of flatbed trailers that can do auto transport jobs. They are available for rent. The Black Lion hallmark is showing up on time and good communication. That's just good quality customer service, and that's why they have countless 5-star ratings on Facebook. Contact Andrew at info@blackliontn.com. Be sure to provide the promo code Coach Rob. Let him know I sent you. That email is info@blackliontn.com. IMDb.com has great parental control descriptions. So if you want to see about that for family or kid appropriateness, that's always a good website to check out. They also have reviews, user reviews, as well as all the links to the critics' reviews if you like to read those. I want to mention today I've got 4 movies I want to mention, and they're relatively recent movies, like in the last handful of years, but I want to recommend 4 movies that I think are all really solid family movies. I've got 4 of those movies I want to talk about. I also want to recommend 3 other movies that are kind of movies that my dad would love. I always think about my dad. He was like a Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood kind of guy, but he also liked really kind of quality movies and a little bit of the mindless action stuff. But these are actually 3 movies that are not mindless action. They're not just entertaining, but they're really, really, really well done, in my opinion. But they're a little bit more, for the dad. I don't know, maybe the older teenager. You can be the judge. And then I've got 3 musicals, believe it or not. I've been thinking about musicals because my 3-year-old granddaughter is just starting to get into musicals. She can actually sit through most of The Sound of Music. A lot of My Fair Lady, which, if you know those old movies from the 60s, there's a lot of dialogue, and those are long movies. They're not easy for a kid to sit through, but the music in those movies is phenomenal. So I'm going to talk about 3. Actually, 2 are musicals. The other is a documentary about music, but I'll get into that in a second. Okay, let's start with the family movies. A Man Called Otto. This is a Tom Hanks movie. It is a touching movie. He plays a kind of a quirky, odd sort of neighbor that is, I believe he's a widower, but it has to do with his sort of relationship with the community, and it is a touching movie. He doesn't have great social skills, but it is Tom Hanks is very good in that, and I would recommend it. It is a touching story, really well done, well acted, well written. Another one, Luke Wilson, 12 Mighty Orphans. This is a true story about a football team made up of orphans back in, I believe it's the 40s or 50s. And it is a really cool story. It's probably not to the classic level of, Hoosiers or Remember the Titans, but it is that type of movie. It's a neat movie, and I like the actors in it. Really cool setting to sort of take you back into that era of football in the United States. Even a movie that wasn't very good, Leatherheads, was fascinating to me because of the era that it came out of in the 20s and the Ivy League football era pre-World War II. But anyway, I digress. Back to the list. A Man Called Otto, 12 Mighty Orphans. Number 3, Father Stu. Father Stu is a Mark Wahlberg movie. If you are Catholic or if you're not Catholic, it doesn't really matter. It is a very cool story about a guy who goes through a transformation. I won't give you some of the spoilers as to what ends up happening, but I will say he decides to become a priest. And this is a guy that was very not somebody you would think would even be religious, who had kind of a conversion story. It is also a true story, just like 12 Mighty Orphans, but very touching, very funny, very cool story. The Fabelmans is the last one I'll recommend that's sort of on my family list. And this is a sort of a deep dive into Steven Spielberg's childhood. So my understanding is that he sort of mirrored this story after his own childhood and a little kid who just loved the idea of making movies and creating memories through film. So it sort of takes you through, California in the early 70s, and sort of takes you through sort of that time period. But I don't think it's exactly a true story, but it's mirrored after Steven Spielberg's childhood life, and it's very interesting. It's a touching story. Okay, now we got 3 movies that I'm going to recommend for Dad. Maybe some of the older teenagers would be good for these, but these are 3 good movies. The first one is 1917. It's a story about World War I. You've probably heard of this one. I think it did pretty well at the box office. The amazing thing about how this movie is filmed is it is I don't know if it's all one take, kind of like Birdman was, if you ever saw that Michael Keaton movie. No cuts, no edits, just one take and a camera following everybody. But there's a lot of camera movement through trenches and sort of following soldiers. And so you really feel like you are in it with the soldiers. It's a war movie. It's not all 100% action, but there is some action, but it just sort of takes you through kind of a day of, what it would be like to be in the trenches in World War I, of course, the Great War at the time. So 1917 is the name of that. The Contractor. This is Chris Pine is the actor, the lead in The Contractor. It is very well done. It is a cool sort of a special ops guy that is trying to balance family life with what he does, and he sort of took out of his military background this ability to do certain jobs that are high risk sort of jobs, but it's filmed in a cool way. If you ever saw The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, sort of the behind the scenes, you sort of feel like you're really in the daily mentality of what it would be like to be a wrestler, the non-glamorous part. Same is true with this about a special ops guy who is doing contract work, and it definitely has some action, but it's a drama about sort of what he goes through, sort of trying to balance this. The third Dad movie I've got is The Outfit. This is a movie that a lot of people haven't heard of. This is probably a little bit maybe of a date movie. Maybe a little bit more than the other two. The other two are a little bit more war-centered. This is centered a little bit around a character, and you sort of find out some things about his background that are sort of related to organized crime, and it is actually not as it first seems in this movie, but it's a British actor. I recommended a movie about a golfer, and it's British, and sorry, I don't have the British actor's name, but that is a good movie as well. Now, I'll mention 3 more that you can look up, and I don't have time to get into the details of it, but Dear Evan Hansen, In the Heights, and The Jesus Music. Those are 3 movies about music. 2 are musicals. The Jesus Music is a documentary of the Christian music industry. Very interesting. In the Heights and Dear Evan Hansen, both musicals. Probably more guys I know have no interest in musicals more than women do, but I actually kind of liked these movies, the musicals. I thought they were very good. So We are into 2025. Can't wait to be back next week. Be sure to check out Take It to the House podcast on YouTube. Also, the Coach Rob Show from WGSO will also be posted to YouTube. Follow on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Twitter X. Have a great week. See you next time.